Hi folks, I'm Matt and welcome to My Expanded Universe, a show where I go through the entire EU in chronological order as best I know how. Yub Nub is still on vacation, and as you can see, his little nephew, Lurdo, will not sit still. Oh man, I miss Yub Nub. All he did was just sit here. This guy is like all over the place, all that spunk and energy. Ugh. Anyway, we're going to go through a couple of short stories here. The first one comes from Star Wars Tales. It was number 13, written by Scott Beatty, and it's called Puzzle Pieces. Now in this one, Mace Windu goes on a peace negotiation to Estacia. Now remember, there's not much else I can share on that because Star Wars Tales, as I've told you before, was a collection of stories in one comic book. So the stories weren't that long. Again, it proves my point I said earlier about Mace Windu. Star Wars Tales loved them some Mace Windu. I guess they figured, well, no one else is telling stories about him, so we will. But then again, there's no depth to his character, there's not much, and I am coming down hard, or a little bit too hard probably, on Star Wars Tales, because remember, these were all just short stories. They weren't really meant to advance someone's character or be really in-depth or thoughtful, even though some were okay. But for this one, not anything very important. So it's skippable if you want to skip it. These next two, probably in the same boat as skippable, but I'm going to mention them anyway. A lot of people don't know this, but Toys R Us has some EU exclusive material in the form of comic books that they put into with their toys. So I know you saw some of these 2-packs where they had a comic book in the back. Most times that comic book was just a reprint of a Dark Horse comic book. Yet sometimes it was original EU content that you could have only gotten if you would have gotten that specific toy or action figure or whatnot. Now, the two I'm talking about were written by the same person, Jason Hall. And the first one of those is called Full of Surprises. Now in this one, Obi-Wan encounters Jango Fett, and he has to escape him using his Jedi Starfighter. Yet, just like what we saw in the movie. But it's not the movie, it's a different time it happened, before the movie. That is very weak storytelling, I understand. I wish they would have picked someone else besides Jango. They picked Jango because the movie was coming out, everyone was excited about Jango, they knew they were going to face off anyway, so may as well just throw it in a comic book pre-episode 2. I thought it was lazy story writing. It was done to show off the Jedi Starfighter Toy, which came with this comic book. Now, to be honest, I found out about these by accident. I didn't even realize there were some exclusive EU comic books in those toys. Because, you know, I knew the cover of every Dark Horse comic book, and when I saw it, I went, okay, that's a reprint. Now these, I didn't really think that much about because you can't really tell what it is. And I remember my buddy bought toys for his kids, and they were opening up and playing with them, and I picked up the comic book to see what it was. And at first, I thought this comic book was a retelling of episode 2. And then as I was reading, I was like, wait, no, this is a separate adventure. This is extra EU. And of course, I got to have me some extra EU, right? So I asked my buddy, I said, are you going to keep these comic books, or can I have them? He's like, hey, you can have them. They don't care about the comic books. They just want the toys. So I went home with something even better. EU comics, yay! So I was able to collect a lot of the exclusive Toys R Us comic books that way by just mooching off my buddy who was buying toys for his kids. Now, the next comic book that you should read from Toys R Us was Practice Makes Perfect. It's a very short story with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and they're fighting these droids. That's about it. Again, Jason Hall's writing is okay, but the overall story arc, kind of dumb. I can't remember what toy that was promoting. I'm assuming it was the Anakin Obi-Wan 2-pack, but again, I do not remember. It could have been a vehicle or something else. I don't know. But reading the comic book again, I was like, I don't remember what toy this came with. But both of these, even though the stories aren't that much, they're skippable as well, to be honest, because they don't have any impact in other EU stories. The artwork isn't that bad for, just an extra comic book added with a toy, because you're really buying it for the toy. I don't think anyone would have bought it for the comic book except for me. And believe me, I freaked out when I found out that was exclusive EU stuff. I mean, I was going to all the Toys R Us's and looking at their books and saying, is this one? Maybe cracking into the toy to see. I don't know. It got crazy. Thankfully, you don't have to do that. You're saying, Matt, how am I going to get Toys R Us exclusive comics? That's going to be impossible. No, it's not, my friend, because if you have the Omnibus Menace Revealed by Dark Horse, then you already have those Toys R Us exclusives. Yes, this reprinted those as well. So Star Wars Dark Horse Extra, Toys R Us exclusives. There's a lot in here in the Menace Revealed. And again, I think this is a very easy omnibus to get, and it's pretty cheap. And it has those hard-to-find stories in it. So if you really want it, this may be your best option to get it, because I remember I got this used, and I got this for super cheap used. I think shipping and handling costs more than the actual book did, Menace Revealed. So it's easy to get. So those are your 3 short Star Wars stories that you could pass over, but it happens in that chronological order. And we'll see you next week with another video.